Welcome to Red-Handed Crimes channel. Don't forget to subscribe. A cold wind howled through the sleepy town of Ashbrook as Officer Daniel Reeves pulled into the driveway of an unassuming house on the outskirts of town. The property belonged to Elias Finch, a reclusive man who rarely spoke to anyone. Most people in Ashbrook barely noticed him, and those who did described him as harmless, but odd. But now, that perception was about to change. Neighbors had reported a foul smell seeping from Finch's property, a rancid, decaying odor that grew stronger with each passing day. As Officer Reeves stepped out of his cruiser, he took a deep breath and immediately gagged. Something was very, very wrong. With a reluctant push, he forced open the door and stepped inside. What he found would haunt him for the rest of his life. Elias Finch had always been a mystery. He had moved to Ashbrook 20 years ago, purchasing the dilapidated house at the edge of town. He spoke little, worked odd jobs, and was never seen with friends or family. People pitied him but never truly cared to know him. They should have paid more attention. For years, Elias had been collecting things, odd trinkets, discarded furniture, and something far more sinister. He had a particular obsession with old photographs of missing people. A hobby, some thought. A harmless eccentricity. Until the basement door creaked open. The wooden stairs groaned under Officer Reeves' weight as he descended, his flashlight flickering. The deeper he went, the stronger the stench became. Then, he saw them. Rows of mannequin-like figures lined the walls, dressed in tattered clothing, their faces eerily lifelike. But these weren't mannequins. These were human remains, carefully preserved. Faces frozen in silent screams, hands curled in an agonized grasp. In the center of the room was an old rocking chair. On it sat a decomposed figure, a woman's skeletal remains dressed in a faded wedding gown. A note was pinned to the fabric. She was the first. But not the last. Detectives swarmed the property, uncovering diaries filled with meticulous notes detailing each of Finch's guests. He had been abducting people for over 2 decades, carefully preserving their remains like a twisted collector. Each victim had a story, a life cruelly stolen away and immortalized in his grotesque museum of the dead. Authorities traced missing persons reports from surrounding states, all leading back to Ashbrook. Each entry in Finch's diary correlated with a disappearance that had baffled law enforcement for years. He had moved like a ghost, choosing his victims carefully, drifters, runaways, people no one would miss. Elias Finch had been careful. So careful that, had it not been for a leaking pipe in his basement leading to that foul stench, he might never have been caught. His arrest sent shockwaves through the town, transforming the quiet recluse into a household name synonymous with horror. As he sat in his cell awaiting trial, Finch only spoke once, muttering a chilling phrase to the detective questioning him. "You should check the old barn too." The next day, officers unearthed yet another gruesome scene, a second burial site, filled with victims yet to be identified. The town of Ashbrook would never be the same. The quiet man they had ignored for decades had been living among them, hiding unspeakable horrors beneath their very noses. People began questioning how they had never noticed the signs. Had they simply dismissed his strangeness as harmless? Had they ignored the subtle clues? As the world learned about Elias Finch, one question lingered. How many more are out there, still waiting to be discovered? Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.